We have got two extraordinary agents in the house, Mr. Josh Skousen and Zach Bunker, not to be confused with any other bunker. With that being said, these guys, I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking, some of you may or may not know who they are, but both of them do an extraordinary amount of business. Earn 400 plus every single year. Neither of them have been in the business, to my opinion. When I mean 10 plus years. Zach, you haven't been in here 10 plus years, right? And these guys have had extraordinary success in such a short period of time. So with that, let's just jump into that. And then let's start with you, Zach. Just give us just a little bit how long you've been in the business, how many homes a year, give or take, are you selling, or volume? Just kind of we get a connection to it. And just a little bit about maybe even your family situation in the sense of married, kids, and whatnot, or not, and how many kids you have. And the other thing I want to know is what were you doing before you were selling real estate full time? All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. And then we'll skip over to Josh, and then we'll get rocking into some great questions.
Yeah. So I've been in 5.5 years, started February of 21 officially, and I've got 4 kids, a wife. Um, my oldest is 10, youngest is 3. Then my wife Holly, she mans the ship at home. Especially this year, she's been taking the lion's share of the load at home because it's been a pretty wild year. I've got 17 and a half closed on the year so far,
How many?
and a
Sorry,
couple
right when you said that, say how many?
17 and a half. Josh and I split one. So
Nice. Okay.
I average about 30 low. I did 29 my first year and 35, I think 34 my best year. So right in that 30 range.
Very cool.
Um, so before I was in here, so I actually met Austin Kales, our team leader he helped me buy my first home 10 years ago, right now, actually, 10 years ago exactly. And looked at his life and I mean who he was as a person and was amazed. I mean, from a financial perspective, but also spiritual, his family life. Austin's amazing, one of my best friends. And I was working at Domo in either accounting or sales at the time. And then I started in accounting over there, and then I switched over to sales. Did that for about 2 years, and talked to Austin about joining real estate. Then got cold feet and went to another sales company that got bought out by Salesforce for a year. And when Salesforce bought them or announced the acquisition, I said they're going to fire our team. It doesn't make sense. We had a small 6-person team here in Utah for this 30,000 employee company. So that was my catalyst. I called Austin and said, "All right, I want to do this real for real." Because when I knew they were going to let us go, I asked my wife. I said, "What are we going to do? I've got to figure out another stream of income." At that point, we had moved out of our first house, and it was a double rental. I said, "Well, what if we put someone in the basement again?" And she would only agree to it if it was one of our friends that could live in the basement. So I leveraged Josh actually to help me build out my basement. I did it and thought, wow, that was fun. I built a wall. I felt like a man. And so my thought was to get in and just buy some of these homes that are 3, 4 years old, put basements in them, get them rented and sell them. And that's when COVID broke out. And so my plan of doing that and someone who I thought I was going to have kind of an investor, that money disappeared. So I said, Austin, I want to do this full time and jumped in, and the rest is history.
Very cool. Well, I didn't know that. So you and Josh have known each other then a long time.
Yeah, I was a good friend of Josh and took him under my wing.
Sounds like what all good friends do, don't they? That's
Well,
great.
actually,
Well, that's awesome.
I didn't like him for the first little while because he was a jerk, and he'll tell you why he was a jerk.
All right. Well, let's hear from Mr. Josh Skousen. So, Josh, give us your 2 cents. What were you doing before this, and just a little bit of your family dynamic, and then obviously you're on the Austin Kales team, which is awesome. We're going to talk about the importance of teams, but give us your 2 cents.
So in my defense, Zach shows up as I'm moving into my new house. He lives 5 houses, he lived 5 houses away from my old house, and he's like, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm gonna help you move." And I'm like, "This guy's weird. Who does that? Who who shows up to actually like help?" I mean, people will say they will, but I didn't want him looking at all my stuff. I thought he was gonna steal something. He looked kind of shady. So I turned him down, and then after that he asked for help, and I'm happy to give help. I have a hard time taking it. And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll help you with your basement." And then we became good friends. And I've been in sales for my entire adult life. I've done in the industry, I think I've touched just about every type of sale out there. I think I've done furniture and cars and suits and medical, stem cells, solar, and now I'm here.
Very
And I've always done well in any of those spheres, but I think in the sales industry, real estate, if you can make it, is where you want to be. This is by far the best. I've tried them all, and this is where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life. Started 3.5 years ago. I kept trying to get Zach to quit real estate and go to solar. At the time, I was at solar, and it was kind of this back and forth. And he was trying to get me into real estate, and finally, the mic drop moment happened when he called me and said, "I'm going to get a $70,000 paycheck." And the FOMO bit me hard, and I'm like, "Fine, I'll look at it." Uh, and then, of course, right after that, solar started to crash and tank across the country, and it just wasn't doing very great. And that was perfect time, except when I did start real estate, it was right before winter, and it was right when interest rates tapped 8%. And so it was really scary. I had a bunch of pipeline solar deals that were going to be closing, and I'm like, that will feed me for the first 6 months while I get my feet under me in real estate. And as those closed out, my previous employer at Solar, he decided to not pay me anything. So it was a little scary, but then we ended up. Uh, it was hard at the first, but we had really good success. I think my first year closed 33 transactions. Last year was 35 transactions. This year I'm at
That's what I
13 with,
was 33. Good number.
yeah. This year I think I've got 13 closed with 9 or 10 under contract right now.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys both being here. And then I just kids married, I presume, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I didn't forget. I got 4 kids, married, been married 10 years. I've got boy, girl, Atlas, Aries, Arrow, and Estrella, and they're off in Arizona right now having fun, and I might join them later this week. We'll see.
That's cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, with that being said, Jack, let's start with you. I mean, obviously, you knew Austin. You knew there was a team concept. Uh, for you, what drew you to a team? Let's just talk about you for a minute. Like, there's a lot of people who question whether they should or shouldn't be on a team. There's people who are pro team, negative team. I mean, I've seen such a transition, such amazing things happen in the team space. But I'm just curious for you, Zach, what's been important about a team? Maybe why you joined a team, why you love being
Yeah.
on a team, why you stay on a team, doing the amount of business you're doing. Like, expand on that a little bit.
So, I mean, I have had a lot of luck in my life. I'll attribute it to luck of I didn't interview any other brokerages. It was I knew Austin and I saw what he had and who he was, and I said, I want that. I want that in my life.
Awesome.
So it wasn't, I mean, I kind of went in kind of blind, didn't know what splits were. I, yeah, I looked at Oz and said, I want your life. And maybe is that just a Corvette? I don't know, something like that. But so I joined the team, and I mean, I think my first deal happened, and I still didn't know what the splits were. I mean, I knew what I agreed to pay Century 21, the brokerage, but um, my first, and I had actually a buddy of mine at the end of my first year, well, kind of a buddy, an acquaintance who was a realtor before, and I remember talking with him one time when they were over, and I started doing like the what everyone does with oh my gosh, he had like 4 under contract or something. I had some calculating commissions. I'm like, gosh, that's so much money. And he was with a flat rate, and he said I would. And at the end of that first year, he was struggling, not closing much. And I called him up, and his wife said, yeah, he's thinking about quitting. I said, "Hey Cameron, you should come look at our team. Like things are going well. Like financially, we were doing pretty well." And he's like, "Oh, I'd never join a brokerage or a team that's a commission or a split base." And he's like, "They never those leads never close. It's just you're just giving away your money." And I said, "Dude, 17 of my deals this year have been team leads." And he laughed. He's like, "Yeah, there's no way you did 17 deals this year." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I did 29." And so um it and of those 29, they a lot of them, I'm sure I wouldn't have got most of those had I not been closing Austin. We call them Austin leads. There, I mean team leads, right? Um, because at the beginning I was doing the whole social media posting when I had a deal, hey, closing, and neighbors started seeing, wow, Zach's is having some success here, and so that led into my November, my first year. I had 12 closings in that month and eight in one day. It was this domino effect of like these needed to sell, these needed to buy that house, they needed to sell. So I was down in a title for 7 hours, like dominoes. It all worked out, and it was amazing. But I attribute a lot, I mean, to one, the leads, but Austin's mentorship. So I look back, and I mean I've talked to my wife how lucky I was that, I mean, had it been some other agent I joined just blindly as I did, I could have been in a lot of trouble. But
Absolutely, for sure.
I'm pretty religious. I believe that I was led to Austin, and what he's done for our family is amazing. He's more than a boss. He always jokes he's not our boss, but he's I couldn't ask for a better boss, to be honest.
Awesome, man. So for you, just overall, I mean, obviously you've had amazing experience. Yes, a little bit of maybe divine intervention, a little bit of luck, all of the above. Great leadership around you. For you, what's been the most important thing that's happened for you being on a team? What would you say would be the top one or two things? Like, hey, this is what happened because I was on a team, and yes, I'm blessed. Yes, I was fortunate, but pragmatic,
Um,
like what would you say, hey, this is the importance of why I'm on a team? What would you say?
I think just that the whole saying of you're I don't know how it exactly goes, but a combination of your five closest friends or whatever, maybe. I mean, being able to, I, I'm blessed to say that some of my best friends are on this team. Like, I enjoy coming to work. To me, it's I think very few people can say they enjoy their job. I enjoy mine. We get to, we work hard, but we also play hard. We've gone down as team, a team to Moab and been dirt biking a couple times, like twice a year the last couple of years. And it's not many people can say you enjoy one who you're with, but also I think they build me up. There's a lot of, I mean, knowledge coming from, I mean, obviously Dave's not on our team, but being around Dave and Aaron, just being able to surround myself. I sat right outside of, for anyone that knows Heather Mercer. When I first started, I sat right outside her and Aaron's office. So all day long, as I'm making calls, I'm hearing the two of them, and they're very different approaches, but both, I mean, producing very highly. I mean, I could hear Aaron's analytical approach, and then Heather's would tie in emotionally with people, and so I feel like if I have to say where I'm at, I think I'm kind of in the middle of those two, but a lot from listening to them talk to people, and how do you win people's trust? Because until you win their trust, it's a battle. But once you've got their trust, I mean, then you get their families and friends and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, you can look at just the benefits, right? I mean, from proximity to your point of you're the sum of the total of your closest three, four, five friends. Depends on who,
That's how it goes.
but or you're usually equivalent of their economics, also the people you spend time with. So it's to your point that proximity has such strength and power to it. Hey Josh, let's switch to you just real quick. So give me a day in the life of Josh. What does that look like from the standpoint of, from whether it's exercise, getting up, how do you prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, even spiritually? How do you get yourself going? How many, like, do you have a schedule you follow? Are you prospecting at a certain time? Or are you prospecting all day at sporadic moments? Like, what does a day in the life of Josh Skousen look like?
Man, this was the right question for Zach. He could have bragged about waking up at like 3:30 a.m. and going to the gym. For me, I'm waking up when the kids come get me out of bed at about 7:30, and then I'm here at the office almost every single day. I tell my wife that I work 60-hour weeks. She says no, it's more than that. But I do try and make time for the kids. I've got four kids, and there's 4 Tuesdays in a month, for most months, and I've got one night set aside for each kid where they get their own date night, and they'll fight over, they'll 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 say I'll to their siblings. My oldest will say, I'll let you come on this date night if you let me go on your date night, and they go out to the movies and we take them out. We spend good quality family time. That's very important because it is a very uh, I spend a lot of time focused, dialed in when I get here. I'm very religiously checking off my task list. First thing I do when I sit down, I actually have it up on one of my other screens right now. Is I've got today I have about 20, 25 tasks that I got to get done, and I've got a whole like check the box, get it done every single day. And as I go through that, I usually Austin has this thing that he teaches the team where you fill up the buckets. You start with the leads that come in, you start making those dials, and then you move through the pipeline, filling up each of those buckets. And the bucket, as it fills up, it'll spill over to the next, and it creates this chain effect where at the very end, the last bucket is closings that you have, and you're just consistently closing things. For me and how I operate, by the time I get done, I actually do the buckets backwards. So I'm like everything that's about to close, I'm contacting those people first, and then I work through the people that are actively submitting offers and going under contract, and then I work all the way through. And by the time I get to prospecting and phone calls, it's evening, and I get a lot of people to pick up at that time, at least for me. And the leads that we're calling are uh, Austin's leads. They're fantastic. I really, I think going back to stealing a little bit of your question to Zach is the reason for the team. I'm very logical. Zach's likes dirt biking with his best friends, and he talked to other things as well. But for me, I'm like, if what is something of nothing is what Austin gives me is absolutely commissions that I would have never had any other way. And then once I have them, I've got their trust, I've got their friends, I've got their family, like Zach pointed out too, and then those people start feeding me. And for people considering teams and the commissions that they potentially lose out on because they pay a team split and stuff like that, it's I would have absolutely failed. I've got if I didn't have a team. I've got 9 siblings. I've got a massive family. My wife is very well connected. We're both on social media. We both do all of these things, and my friends and family sphere would not have been enough to feed us and get me through successfully in real estate. Um, Having Austin's supplemental leads come through and being able to supply us with that base, now that we have that, their friends and their family are reaching out to me, and now it's starting to go parabolic now, and that would have happened no other way. And so sorry, I know that wasn't my question, but stealing from Zach's, that's why I think teams are so valuable, is because
So give an
otherwise.
Well, Josh, give an example though of a given day, right? You've got the buckets, but get real specific to like lead follow up, prospecting. How much time is spent either, let's just say your sphere, to your point, of friends, family, connections to those other clients, but then how much is spent in lead follow up or calling on internet leads or leads that you're getting through Austin. Like just give a basic give me a perspective. I mean, to close 33 homes, essentially your first year in business, how did your how much prospecting were you doing? Because obviously that didn't happen by accident. Obviously you were prospecting, you had to have prospected. So get real specific, like how much prospecting, how many hours, how many days a week, evenings, nights, mornings, whatever.
Yeah, I'm here pretty religiously from about 9 to 5 every single day, unless I'm showing houses. When I show up in the morning, the first until lunch, I'm playing catch up for the previous deals and days that happened before. Like Monday's usually my busiest. I go to a 1 hour lunch, I talk to the guys at lunch, and then I come back and I'll be on the phones calling all day. I think I probably make, I mean, I'm calling new leads that I've not spoken with, maybe 50 calls a day. And then active people that I am working with is probably another 50 calls on top of that. Um, some of the dials just ring through. Other dials, or some
So
of
you're
my
give or take,
clients I sit and talk to half an hour.
and how many how about this? About let's just say it sounds like give or take 100 dials a day. How many
Yep.
people do you think you're talking to a day? Not
Um,
not the administrative
30.
portion, like pure prospecting, lead follow up. Like even I can work. You could consider active clientele that are actively looking. But how many of those how many conversations are you having a day?
Probably 30.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thought for everybody listening. It's a real nugget. In general, what I would tell you, Josh, is the number of contacts that you make in a day. Is there an exact science to this? No, but the number of contacts you make in a day will often equal the number of deals that you'll do in a year. So if someone wanted, there was a day, Josh, where I was making early in my career, I was making 100 contacts a day. And those 100 contacts, of course, this is when more people are answering their phones and different other dynamics and whatnot. But as a general rule, if you will, all of us will focus on, and that's where I see people, they're making 5 or 6 contacts a day, and so therefore they're doing 5 or 6 deals a year. So you're making 30 plus contacts a day, you're making 100 plus phone calls per day, and here you are selling 30 plus homes a year. It's not a real scientific method, but it's a pretty simple one that if I want to close 25 homes a year, I got to talk to 25 people a day. And that's typically a general rule that seems to hold pretty true for the last 30 years of my career. Whether we're talking about you in the last 3.5 years in this business or me back 32 years ago, this July when I started into this business, the reality is that you are in a place where you get the deals because you're making the contacts. And I think that we get naive to thinking like, oh, this is so cool what Josh and Zach are doing, but forget the fact of how many people you truly are talking to have those types and levels of success. And it doesn't matter whether you're on a team, and it doesn't matter whether you're individually just out doing your own deals. The reality is you have to talk to enough people to get the results. Any thoughts to that, Josh or Zach?
No, you're absolutely right.
Just in
I
regards to
think
prospecting in general. I know it's something that Austin, of course, hammers down pretty hard and heavy because it's the only way to succeed in this business long term. But just your guys' thoughts on prospecting. Ever have call
I-
reluctance? You guys are pretty two strong, pretty guys. In the sense of making it happen, handsome, strong. But ever a time you don't want to make calls, Josh?
yeah, and quite honestly, you just got to pick up and do it. I've become pretty numb to the rejection and to the first initial phone call. It's like football and making your first
Well,
tackle. It's always you got butterflies, but after a while you get used to it.
I get used to it. How did you overcome that? How did you work through that?
My task list. I've
Negotiate with yourself. How did you?
like I got to check off the box. Otherwise, I feel like I've got a certain level of autism. If I can't check that box, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'll go nuts. And so to do it, I got to make that call. And it's not just a call to get it done. It's a call to actually set an appointment. It's a call to actually accomplish something and help someone out. And I really feel that way. I feel like I'm going to help them out. And so everyone wants a house. Can we make it possible? Yeah. So
So you have
that's
an intention to every call.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
like that. Zach, what would you say about prospecting? What would be your thoughts to that? If an agent came to you and said, "Man, I'm really struggling. I can't figure out this business," what would you tell them? And let's just assume because I don't know. Here's what I don't know very many agents struggling who are consistently prospecting in a good fashion. I only know agents that are struggling, wondering where business is coming from when they're not prospecting. So Zach, what would you say to an agent who's struggling in today's market?
I kind of what Josh said, you just got to do it. To me, I'm not numb to it. When people reject me, I am petty. I look them up on Facebook. I think I have to justify why did this jerk just tell me to go screw myself? But I'll
I
post
love
it, and I mean to the
Hold on, but Sarah, okay. So if you say you're a little more sensitive to that, how have you overcome that? How have you said, "Man, I'm going to sell 29 homes my first year in business"? Guys, I hope everyone realizes if you guys, Josh and Zach, 71% of agents last year, again, year over year, 71% of agents did not sell a single home. 7% of the agents in America are selling 80% of the property. Just think about that. 7%. There are 1.2 million agents in America, and 7% of them are selling 80% of the properties. So,
I mean,
how are you overcoming that? Because 71% of the people out there aren't.
just tell myself I'm gonna do it. It's I'm very similar to Josh. My schedule is I mean, I do stuff a lot slower than he does. Well, I my ADD kicks in, so that's why I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning so that I can accomplish in 20 hours what Josh does in 10. Um, but I tell myself when I get from the get-go, if I wasn't doing this, what would I be doing? I'd be at a 9 to 5 job where someone's checking if I clocked in on time, right? And so for me, it's a non-negotiable. During weekdays. I mean, even your holidays that are not holidays. I mean, to me, President's Day is not a holiday. Labor Day is not. I mean, if I'm doing something with my family, I'm taking the day off. But I feel like so often Fridays. Oh, it's Friday. I mean, how often is the parking lot half empty?
Correct.
And you see that the Cybertruck out there. You see. I mean, you know who's here by whose cars are here, right? And so it's like if I'm not doing this, what am I doing? I'm at a job where someone actually is checking if I'm at the job. So unless like kids and I and Holly are going on a trip or going skiing or going boating, I'm at the office at 9 a.m. every morning or before. I drop my kids off and I come in and then I just start working. I, I have a hard time. I love David Goggins' books where you can't motivate, you can't teach motivation, right? You can't, I mean, you can get pumped up at, what's that guy that's from Florida that the big conferences where they walk on coal, they get all excited, but then how many people go to the conference, and then come home and then don't do what was told? It's like, it's a non-negotiable. If I don't have people under contract, if I'm not working on those, I'm not if I don't have stuff to do, I'm prospecting. So to me, I don't have like specific, and I know some people do like power hours. That was never a great thing for me because I get distracted when an email comes in from a client or something. I whoop, squirrel. But if I'm not working on one of those buckets that's here, I go back to here, and I'm not leaving just because it's like, oh, well, got an appointment, great. That's I still got time to call. So for me, it was just sucking it up and doing it. I got in. I know I met Ruby when I first started the like where the broker interviews or whatever you call them. And I don't know if she remembers, but she's like, "Well, how many deals do you want to do the first year? How much money do you want to make?" I had no idea. I didn't know it was 100,000 realistic or. So I sat down with my wife and we figured we needed 60 grand to cover all of our bills. And like if I can make 60 grand and be happy, doing my job because I hated my last job. That was cherry on top, and I started like I said February 1st. By May, I had already passed that, and
That's all.
at that point, it wasn't so much. I got a goal, and once I hit the goal, I'm done. It's just come in and do it.
Yeah. We
Second
look
nature.
like the great Nick Saban, right? The Alabama head coach. He talks about falling in love with the process, right? You can set a goal, but if you're not going to work the process, right? If you're not going to go along the journey that you just explained, you're not going to hit it. There's no way. I think you bring up a good point, Zach, and it's a I have a big belief on this personally, and that is you're never going to create someone's motivation, right? You have reasons that you do what you do. Josh has them. I have them. Everyone listening and who will listen in the future to this will have them. I've just found that whether I go to an event or anything, it's just like why you go to church. The consistency of remember is remembering who we are, remembering what our motives are, remembering why we do what we do. And the thing is that the people who forget why they do what they're doing are the people who are often the most lost, distracted, unproductive because they have forgotten the reasons why they do what they do. And I love the fact when you said, look, I knew as long as I earned six, you had reasons, and those reasons made you fall in love with the process. And if you fall in love with the process in real estate, you will make a lot of money. So you will really fight the process. And and just if one can submit to the process of selling and calling, talking, getting up early, getting in, doing the job. It's amazing what can unfold. And you guys are incredible examples of seeing that unfold. Both of you.
George,
Examples.
can I share something to that, George?
Yeah, please.
I see, and sometimes I mean, I've not been here as long as Zach. I've not been here as long as most, but I've seen people that will also show up at the same time and leave at the same time as me, and I've even whether they're on a team or not, their production is not the same, and I think a lot of people fall into the bad habit of if I'm here and just going against what I said earlier, just checking the box, right? They're just checking the box. They show up, they make their calls, but they're not actively thinking about how to improve their business. They're not active with intention trying to get those appointments set. They're not actually trying to uh, push the limits of what they're trying to currently do. They get sort of stuck in this rut. And like, I'm doing the exact same thing that these others guys are doing, but I'm not seeing any of the success. And almost every single day, I'm trying to figure out how do I help this one client bridge this gap to where they need to go, rather than did I make my call to them today? And that mindset really, I think, sets a big difference between who closes and who doesn't.
I agree. And what, one of the things that I think is interesting is here's an example. This has for sure happened to you, Josh, and to Zach. And that is you guys will each call, or you could have called similar leads, people who have the same leads. I mean, here's an example. There's over 1 billion leads that are sold in the US today, by the way. This is crazy. 1 billion leads will be bought and purchased this year in the US. There will be 4.2 million household sales in America. So what's the catalyst? What's the difference, right? It's not, I've said this for years. It's not that you just prospect, it's how you prospect. It's not that you just get coaching, right, as an example. It's how you're coached. It's not that you just, to your point, you don't just, it's not just that you show up at the office, it's how you show up at the office in the sense of what you do, how you work, how you choose to figure something out. And it's the reason why I've always said is there's just nothing about this business you can't learn and that you can't do. It's just the challenge is I think a lot of us get stuck thinking the way we're doing it is going to work because maybe it even worked in the past. But what seems to be evident is that what people were doing in the past in general in this industry is not working today. And part of that is we got so lazy with the idea of not prospecting and talking to people, which you guys certainly are an incredible example of doing that. Let's switch gears for a little bit. So each of you are very charismatic. You may say, well, no, maybe I'm not, but you are. Okay. Both handsome, charismatic, talented, but I have watched that in this industry for both of you for a lot of years. I've watched people come from the car business. I've watched them come from door-to-door sales, pest to solar to whatever. And I watch all these people who have charisma just leaking out of their skin, and then they still don't have the success in this business. So for you, when it comes to the skill sets that are necessary to sell, for each of you individually, like how have you learned how to sell? Have you learned certain scripts or dialogues? Have you created the dynamics of closing deals? Like, what is it that for you was the best tool you used to getting better at what you do regarding the skill sets? Because again, someone can be on a phone all day and not have results. But I also know that if the two of you are on a phone all day, you're going to get results. So, what do you think's the difference? How did you get
So
good enough to where you can have results that you want?
I'd say it's two-part, and hopefully this doesn't go against what you're hoping I'll say.
I don't know. Go ahead. It won't.
So I mean Austin does have a call script. Our team's a little bit different. When I first started there was the brokerage has some calls, and I was tuning into those, and we were did a team meeting once, and we were doing calls, and I went off on this thing, and at the end I was like, what was that? That wasn't the script we've talked about, and I was a little embarrassed, like, well, that's what I thought it was. But he's like, okay, he's got a very nice, very well cut out script that, I mean, and it works. It's I was over here trying to cut a path through the forest when there's already a trail blazed.
Yep.
So it brought me back, and I liked that. But also, I think what Josh and I have, and I believe a lot of people would trust us because it's honest. And that's where when I was doing the tech sales at Domo and then Salesforce, whether they bought Domo or they bought Tableau, probably didn't matter. Their business was going to do what they're going to do. But I believe, and I so it's hard when people say, well, why should we buy your product over the other one? With homes, it's not been that way for me. My first home, I bought it with Austin and Provo. That next year, it appreciated 100 grand, and I was making 48,000 a year as an accountant. And I thought I made more money from this freaking home that I've just lived in than I did working every day. And I was working a lot of hours. Accountants, we work overtime, don't get paid for it. And so it was like it's genuine. And I had a basement apartment, and now that home I'll own for the rest of my life. It's cash flowing. It's my best investment. And so it's easy when I talk to people, and they can tell that you truly care, and it's not from a you're just looking for the commission check. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy when we get our checks, but it's not about that. It's talking to them, caring about them, and truly looking at them as a person, like what's the best. And there's times when people have said, Zach, should I sell my home or should I keep it and rent it? I mean, this goes against me getting a sell. If they can have the ability to keep and rent their home, like guys, this probably talks me out of a sale, but like that's the approach. If you can do it, I believe in home ownership and what rentals do for you. But I think in the long run, people trust me more because it's like, gosh, he's giving up. I gave him the opportunity to say, here, sell my house. And he told me, don't sell it, keep it. Let's make it into a rental. And so being honest with people, and then also I'll go along with this and share one quick story, caring about everybody. Oftentimes, I've heard clients like, oh, I talked to a bunch of agents, but they kind of didn't give me the time of the day because I'm only buying a $200,000 condo or whatever. I made the commitment. If someone was willing to talk to me about real estate and wanted to see a home, I'd show it wherever I was driving to. And my first year, I met this girl named Cassidy Hewish. She was looking at 150 to $200,000 condo, and had a 30-minute conversation with her. And at the end, she said, I've talked to a lot of agents. You're the only one. And I learned this later. Well, she told me, I appreciate this. Let's keep in contact. Because the story was one day dad's going to sell his business and buy me a house. And we got in contact, but it was about 2 years before. I mean, I check in every once in a while. Turns out Cassidy calls me and says, hey, dad's his business under contract. He said, go find a home, but it's up to 500 now. So I bought a home in cash, 500,000. 2 weeks after going on a contract, she called me and said, I don't mean to be annoying, but can you help my brother buy a home? I said, yeah, you can call me anytime to get annoyed with that call. Bought her brother a home, then their sister a home. So I did, and then I was helping him do these all through. I saw that I got an email from the company we were working with managing his finances. He had $5 million he needed to spend, and called him up and said, Mike, you're 1031 in this money. It's going to be taxed here soon. And he's like, I did not realize we had 4 days to figure out how to spend $5 million, and ended up he bought 7 houses in 4 days, and now he's come back every year. So he's bought 12 homes with me from a girl who's looking at a 150 to $200,000 condo.
What a great story.
3 weddings in the family. It's like they're good friends. And so it's like she said, no one else will give me the time of the day. She saved my number. This is not exaggerate. As Zach Bunker, CenturyLink, pretty cool dude. That was my name in her phone, and it still is to this day. And we laugh about it. She didn't even get the company right, CenturyLink. But if you care about people and you like, it's not about the end paycheck. It's about helping them, and then the rest comes.
Well, you're nailing it, man. I mean, the thing. Look, just the. I hope people are hearing this. That just the nuance, the little framework of change. When I have to believe with what I'm hearing from you is that when you're prospecting, you are prospecting to see how can I help you, how can I bring value to you, not so much okay, what do I get out of this? And as simple of that change that happens inside of us is that is a different energy of how can I help versus what do I get out of this thing? Because the automatic is if we help enough people, right? Help enough people get what they want, you inevitably will get what you want. It's one of the famous quotes of the late Zig Ziglar, man. Help enough people get what they want, you inevitably will get what you want. So I think it's a really beautiful thing. And by the way, Zach, when you said, hey, about scripts and dialogues, that's the whole point is that you're like, hey, I practiced, I refined, I figured out what worked. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. There was a script that worked. I do have a belief that a yes, as we move through this journey, people are buying into you. And at the end of the day, I find that almost whatever script an individual uses, when their skills get so good, they radiate this need and this desire to help and to serve and to love other people. It everything flows because I joke about this. I can take any script that exists. It doesn't matter. Give me a script. It doesn't, and people will say, this is the one. And I'm always like, really what it is that you changed your tonality, you changed your energy, you changed who you were more confident. So this is the one script for you. And it may be the same one for a lot of people, but at the same time, people don't choose people because of a script. They choose them because of who they're being when they're using the script. And I think sometimes we forget that the scripts are not as critical as who we are when what we radiate to another human being, because that's what they ultimately connect to. And if a script assists with that, that's great. But whatever the script is, I'm never too concerned about it. The key to your point is you got to find one that works, one that's proven, one that has power, strength, and conviction in it, and that you can be who you need to be for the people when you're using it. And that's always the case with any script. Over the last years, I've really believed that strongly, that it's so much to who we're being versus what we're saying. And that has so much to do with our success, which is why I talk about who you guys are is so attractive that people want to work with it. You're not working in fear. You're not working in anxiety. You're not working in stress. You're not working with manipulation, force, control, which is so much of what agents are trying to do today because they're scared and they're trying to force things to happen, which radiates a whole different energy that repels people. And they don't even know why they're repelled. It just doesn't feel comfortable. And you guys are doing a marvelous job of staying in that space of openness and goodness for people to be served and to be helped. So really cool stuff. Josh, you've had lots of experience in selling. You've been around a lot of salespeople. If someone came to you, which I bet you they have in your career, even you for sure outside of this business, but in this business, I suspect at this point they've come to you, and that is that you have someone who's struggling. Maybe they're having a rough moment. Maybe they're having some rough challenges for whether it's in the home, their health, their business, the economics, whatever it is. What would be the counsel that you would give to someone in this business today if they wanted to go sell, let's just say 20 plus homes a year? What would be your counsel to them?
Good question. As far as, and I have been approached by this before, and it's not just been in this industry, it's been in the others. The all commissions based income is a really scary one. It's very scary. And that fear of I don't know when I'm going to be able to pull in my next paycheck is kind of paralyzing for a lot of folks. And I totally sympathize with that. I think that's the roller coaster of an all commissions job. And with real estate, it's even further apart. I mean, you do solar and that's a little more consistent. And in cars is very similar to furniture. And then when you like I was doing suits and furniture for a while, and that's very like you have consistent paychecks, but in real estate, it's very different. Um, the process. I think having discipline to stick to the process. People will have um, and I think it comes with time. It's not something that you can learn overnight. It's something that you grow a thick hide, a thick skin to deal with between the slow months and the months where you make a ton of money. I see this often where someone will close a really fat fat deal, or they'll close a whole bunch together, and they stop during that time while they're closing it. They stop prospecting, or they stop and they start thinking about like I've got enough money to last 6 months. I can make it for the next half year. And then they stop doing what got them those transactions. And that's a personal pet peeve of mine because I see it happen and then I hear the stress later on when, 3 months later after all those close, they've got nothing to close. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I
I,
spent all my money. And so I think setting discipline. That's why I have my task list. Sorry, I keep coming back to that. It's like every day I got to do this, even if I've got a bunch of stuff closing. I've got to get back to those calls. Uh, you asked something earlier. I wanted to answer if that's all right. I
well,
know Zach had fun with this.
like if
Y-
someone was struggling, and you used a very important word right there, the very tail end of it. You said discipline. So
I thought it was,
but go ahead. If that, I was just going to say, I mean, obviously, discipline is a huge component to your success. There's no question. You can tell.
Yeah, doesn't matter what I've got going on. I've got to get it done. Got to get it done the right way, and having that process with the right perspective. Why am I doing this? Not just getting it done. That that has made my job really consistent. This is way more consistent than even the other sales jobs that were had much smaller commissions, but a lot of them, those ones were more variable than this one now, which is really interesting. I've grown in my career.
Yeah. If you were struggling with your mindset, your belief in yourself, Josh, and it wasn't something that maybe even you might feel like, hey, that comes to me pretty naturally. What would you tell someone to do to get their belief, their confidence, their kind of finding their center? What would you tell them?
Um, Zach mentioned this, but I'm of the same. I'm very religious. I believe the universe. I believe God opens up doors, and I felt inclined when I first started this to just proceed, just take the first step of faith and begin. And as long as I put God first, He makes everything else work for me. And that's something that I really live by. That's something that I really believe. Now, as far as general public, when it comes to being able to begin work when you feel really beat down by this and to make it happen is trust the process. The process works for everybody if you do it. And there's some people where it's like, it's not working, I'm going to go find another job, I'm going to go do this part-time thing, I'm going to go distract myself. And even though they're putting in 8-10 hours in real estate, those extra 4 hours of distraction somehow they seem to bleed into real estate, and you're kind of one foot in both worlds and you're not fully vested. Warren Buffett, he says, when asked about this, he says, um, I put all of my eggs in one basket, but I watch that basket. And I'm of the same belief. When you burn the ships behind you, there's no retreat. You're all in on this, and you stick to the process. It will work.
I love that. That's really well said. Josh, on my bathroom wall years ago, probably, oh gosh, it's probably 15 years ago, I wrote it down where markets were crashing, difficult moments. And I wrote down, trust God, trust myself, trust the process, right? The things that I'm doing, trust the journey. And then to your very point, I've said this for years. The only indication of ex, the only indication or the only thing you have to show based on the fact that you can certainly declare, I trust God, trust myself, trust the process, trust the journey I'm on, but is going to work and doing the work that exemplifies the fact that you trust. So for me, when I wrote that on that little sticky note, I mean, just one just like this, and it's still there. It was just a reminder that in order for me to trust or to show my trust, it is by the actions that I take and assuming and maneuvering and working as if it is all going to work out based on the fact that I trust God, I trust myself, I trust a few others around me, I trust the journey, the process I'm under, and I got to go to work. And if you'll do that, you again, both of you are just incredible examples of what can unfold when you have a level of trust backed up by a level of activity. It all starts to flow together and maneuver in this strength and power and conviction so that even more and more and more and more starts to come your way, which is really cool. So it's such good stuff. We're just about out of time. Let me just wrap up with this. In this market, if I said, man, like what what would you say? Like, there's the mindset, there's skill sets, there's discipline, systemization. We've kind of covered a bunch of those things. But if you took a step back and you said, man, if I could start it all over again and I was going to do this differently for my business, Zach, what would you do different today that you weren't maybe either doing or you didn't do and or wish you would have or could have done it differently when you first started? What would you do differently today as if you were starting over?
I don't know. I feel like I liked the process of what's happened. So
Right. Is there anything you would say, man, I would have got a hold of my sphere? I mean, I can tell, how about this? Biggest mistake I made in the first 2 or 3 years of my career, I did not get serious about contacting my sphere. And as I, even today, I mean, I've got 7 closings between me and Isaac this month. And I'm sitting back going, holy cow, like, look at what my sphere can deliver to me. So for me, I look back early on in my career going, man, if I would have known the impact of my sphere, I think I would have been a little more serious about it right from the get go. And so for me, that would be one example of I would do it a little bit differently. Doesn't mean it was wrong. Doesn't mean I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm just talking like if you could look back and go, man, if I knew what I knew now, I probably would have done blank. What would you else would you do? that you would do today if you were
I
starting
have
over,
one.
you not have done? And or Josh, either of you.
Yeah, I'll answer. For me, it would be the amount of fear that I put into this. I mean, I had the solar guy that did not pay me. It was like 60 grand that was going to float me for 6 months. So like that was great. Like it's a lot of money, never came through. And I had a great deal of fear that like how is this like, and I stuck with it, right? And I tried to believe, I tried to set the mindset and I did. Like I had to keep reminding myself, but I spent a lot of energy on am I going to be able to make this thing work? And I think I not only did I make it work in spite of that fear, but I would have made it work so much better if I just showed up, did my thing, enjoyed life, and knew that in the end all would be fine.
Well, to your point, trust, right? Maybe a little, you would have entered in with a lot higher level of trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. Zach, do we inspire you to give you anything you would do differently?
The only thing that's coming to my mind is had I done it sooner. It's
That's a great point, man.
I talked to Austin the year before that, uh, before I joined, a year and a half, and then I let fear kind of lead the way, and I didn't join. I went to Velocity. Um, but I think having the two things that have been successful is having the path paved for me, understanding what that means, and then willing to put the work in. And I think so a lot of people see, especially outside of real estate, they see the flashy, I mean, a lot of people drive nice cars, or they see the ski trips and yada yada yada, but actually being willing to do the crap. And I always, when I think about saying that, I always think of I did a lot of stuff out in Twilla and Grantsville, and there's that back road to Eagle Mountain from there. It's dark, and I remember driving home one night, talking to someone on the phone about. They're like, "Oh, it's so easy for you." Like I'm like, "You've been off work for 6 hours. It is 11 o'clock. I have not seen my wife since I left this morning, and you say it's easy because you see the boat, but I'm working. It's almost 11. I left the listing appointment at 10:15, and I got home after 11. And I just remember it's a long, dark, lonely road, but they don't see that, right? They see the flash, and it's like, be willing to, if you're going to commit, be willing to put the time in. And Dave, well, sorry, I know I said that one last thing. Dave said something in one of the summits early on. He said, "This job's too hard to not be uberly successful," or something of that nature. It's like, if you're just trying to make 100 grand, there's easier ways to do it.
Oh, it's a lot easier ways.
So I made took that to heart and said, I'm gonna put in the time. And sometimes my wife's amazing. Sometimes she has to put the reins on and say, hey, we need you at home, and try, let's reevaluate things. And that happens about every quarter. And I love her for doing that because she keeps me grounded. Because sometimes I do need to rein it back of like, okay, I don't need to respond at dinner. I can, but like being willing to do that stuff where you can't check out at 6 p.m. You got to work, and being able to put the work in. The path is there. It's real. It's just will you follow it?
I love it, man. It's great, guys. Well, hey, in closing, any final thoughts from you, Josh, or from you, Zach? I'm so grateful for the two of you that you're in, not only in the company, you're incredible examples. Obviously, you're part of an incredible team and what Austin has assembled and the team and what you collectively have all done together and continue to do. It's incredible. But want to just give you your last thoughts. Any last thoughts, Josh or Zach, or any counts or anything that you'd like to just offer in closing?
Incredibly grateful. I don't know what the stats are. You probably know, George, of how many people start real estate and then fail out within the first 2 years or something like that. And I know for certain, had it not been for Austin, the team leads and that structure bringing me in, I would have not. I would not have made it. And I've always exceeded in every other sales industry. I've always done really well, but I know for certain I did not have enough SOI. I did not have enough experience. I couldn't set proper expectations for my clients. I would have blown up in a bad way rather than a good way had it not been for Austin. So I'm just incredibly grateful. And Zach for bringing me and introducing me
And
to Austin.
me
That made all of it, made it all work. And now this is set for life.
almost didn't give me my credit I deserve.
You got your shout out, Zach.
Zach, give us your last thoughts, and I'll wrap us up. Any last thoughts? Thank you, Josh. That's wonderful.
I mean, echoing Josh, I know I've toted Austin, and this is not a a recruiting email for Austin, but he's amazing. I love our team. I'm grateful, and as good of friends as Josh and I am, on my list of people who've impacted my life from a at least from a financial perspective, as my parents giving me the hard work ethic, my wife and Austin, he's right there in my top four. Josh for being a good friend, but Austin's changed my life, and all came from when he called me. I don't know. I got on his website and I was a jerk the first time. He pushed through it. He had he knew his script and got in front of him and said, "I like this guy. I want to buy a house from him. I want to be like him." And so
That's
that
awesome.
it's that's it's all it is to it is having the motivation and working hard for it.
Yeah. Well, I've said this. I'll close with this, guys. Like, I deeply believe this about Everest and or Century 21, and that is that it is truly one of the greatest, if not the greatest, gathering of real estate professionals the world has ever seen. And I know we get accolades not only as an organization, we get accolades individually. We get, of course, you get accolades as a team, and really all of those accolades or awards and those, you could say even ceremonies of those things really speak to the one thing that I think is really special, and that is that something very unique, something very special, something very awesome occurs within the walls of Everest. And as we could speak of many, many people who have had profound impact on individuals. Not only are you guys paying that forward with the people that you teach, you protect, you inspire to take action in the game of real estate, obviously Austin and others, and you look at just the lineage of all the different people from that standpoint. I've always appreciated Austin has talked about, of course, the impact of a Jeremy Laguerre and a Dave Parker in his life, and this interesting little thought, Zach and Josh. Andrew Carnegie mentored and, of course, taught where we have the book, the Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill mentored and taught an individual by the name of W. Clement Stone. And W. Clement Stone had a pupil by the name of Earl Nightingale. A lot of people are familiar with Earl Nightingale and his teachings. Earl Nightingale taught a guy by the name of Mike Ferry. Another guy taught Mike Ferry taught for over 30 years was me. Then I had the privilege of when Dave Parker, about 3 months into this business, coming out of Discover Card, I had the privilege of being able to coach and mentor and spend time with Dave. Today, I look when I hear things like Austin Kales will say, my best friend is Dave Parker. I look at the impact of those relationships and then look where you guys are from the Daves to the Austins, the Zachs, and the Joshes. And you guys will pay that forward as time goes on. So it's a pretty cool history when you look back from all the way back from an Andrew Carnegie to Napoleon Hill to W. Clement Stone to Earl Nightingale to Mike Ferry to George Morris to Dave Parker, Austin Kales, Zach, and Josh. That's a cool thing because that's what it's all about, is paying it forward and bringing enough value and teaching the people that come after you to even do better than you did before. So it's pretty cool to see what's unfolded inside not only this organization, what's unfolding for you guys and for what all of us do together, how special, how unique it is that what we do as an organization and what we collectively do individually and together. I could not be more proud of the two of you. I couldn't be more happy for the two of you. I'm so grateful for both of you. Grateful, of course, for Austin, Dave, and the journeys that we've all been together on. What an incredible time it is to sell real estate, to be a beacon of opportunity and hope in regards to some pretty tough times in our industry, some pretty tough times in regards to the economy. And you guys are shining stars of what's possible, not only in the sales side of it, but what you're bringing and capturing for a client and how they're able to build wealth because you showed up in their life. That's true leadership at its highest level, which is what all of us should be responsible for, is to lead at the highest levels, because that's what it's about. How we lead our families, how we lead ourselves, how we lead our communities, how we lead our businesses. Because no one showed up today, said, Zach, you probably know this. No one showed up today and said, man, we need another sales guy. That's what we need the world to have. But they certainly have said this, and I've said this for years now. They need leadership. And you guys are two extraordinary leaders and to come from some incredible leadership that have been by your side to help you find the way, which is way cool. Okay, guys, any last thoughts?
I just want to make sure that in that lineage, I'm above Josh, not equal to, right?
You know what? That's right. You know what? It goes Austin, Zach, then Josh.
Thank you. I don't want it Austin and then split to Zach and Josh.
I love you, brethren. You guys are awesome. Keep it going. Keep killing it. Make it happen, which I know you guys are. All right, guys. Have a great week. Wait, great
Thank you.
month. Well, here we go.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.